I'm Jeff Hemmings. This is Brighton's Finest radio show, online, DAB and podcast, bringing the artist closer to you.
So cool. Thanks, guys, for taking the time. You two have been involved since the very beginning, is that right?
Yeah. All four of us are.
It's the same lineup, isn't it?
Yeah, since 2006, I think.
2006. Obviously, the inevitable question is, why did you guys decide to get back together again?
I think you have to look at why we stopped doing it. At the end of 2014, everyone was tired out. And we didn't really want to do it anymore. Everyone kind of wanted to do different things and do the things that they had always wanted to do whilst doing the band that didn't have time to. Like Jamie went to university, me and Jack made our own albums. And I think in doing that, for those 3 or 4 years, we realised that what we had was incredibly special and that perhaps we took it for granted before, so that brought us back together.
It's nice to have a bit of a break, isn't it, where you get recharge, refresh, take stock.
Well, I think we all took stock, and then it was the 10th anniversary of our first album.
Yeah.
That was why we started talking about it again, and I think everyone realised, that it was an amazing thing we had.
Yeah, it was.
To throw it away. And, still is. Hopefully.
It was a brave thing to...
Stop doing
it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we just had a number one album.
Well, yeah. Some people would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah, but I think if we'd carried on, we would have stopped.
Yeah.
But just on more acrimonious terms.
Sure.
Probably.
Because obviously being together for such a long time and being in each other's pockets, I guess, is not easy, is it? It's not easy for any relationship.
No, I think it's a miracle that we're all still talking to each other.
Yeah.
We are. Yeah, as Jamie said, if we kept on going, when
you might have killed each other.
Well, when bands are doing it for the wrong reasons, like for most people it'd be a no-brainer if you have a number one album and you're selling shows and records to keep on playing, because it's quite lucrative and you can keep doing it.
It wasn't like a defined split, was it? It was sort of.
Well, it was
promoted as a hiatus, wasn't it? But
well, we did.
You actually did feel that that was it.
Well, from my perspective, I thought that was it.
We sold all our gear, which is...
I read that somewhere. Yeah.
And if you do that, it kind of points out you don't have any plans to do it anytime soon. And actually, funnily enough, we sold it, and then 6 months later, we started talking about doing the band again. So.
Right.
I think we called it a hiatus because... I guess partly because we did end it on good terms, so that I think that probably left to the prospect of everybody. But we also didn't want to do what some other bands have done recently, which is make a really big deal of splitting up and then come back a few years later.
Yeah.
Because people have that sort of big emotional outpouring when the band stops, and that there's sort of catharsis in that, and then you move on, and then and then you turn around and say, actually, surprise. And we didn't want to do that if there was a small chance that we would do it again. Even the way we stopped was incredibly low key.
Yeah.
We just did a post on social media just saying we don't have any plans to make any music in the future, and that was it. There wasn't a big so long farewell kind of tour or anything.
Yeah.
Like the Motley Crue recently broke up and they signed agreements to say that they'd never do it again, and then about 6 months later they all ripped up the agreements and started doing the band. I think I'd feel a bit shortchanged if I was a Motley Crue fan. If I was a Motley Crue fan. Maybe not.
For a variety of reasons.
Obviously, did it feel different when you went back and started making music again? Was there a different, I don't know, maybe not dynamic, but a different way of doing things, or?
The band still works the same. It's kind of the same process. It's just within that everyone's grown up a bit, which sounds cheesy to say, but that, beforehand, all we had in our life was the band. Whereas now everyone's kind of more rounded and confident.
Called it a day to begin with. Lots happened. Yeah. Brexit and Trump and referendums and turmoil around the globe. Does it feel different, or just kind of more of the same, really?
It's interesting being in a band now compared to then, because there's a lot more people making kind of political music or protest music.
I've noticed that. Yeah,
and also journalists sort of more willing to ask questions about politics. Whereas in 2014, when we were doing the promo for the last album, that would never come up in an interview. And we just did loads of radio and press in Europe, and everyone there would want to know what we thought about Brexit and ask us to explain Brexit as if we would like have any insight into it, which of course we don't.
So the new album hasn't really got much to do with politics. It's not you'd never been a political band as such.
No. It is about catharsis though, and exactly what you're saying. I guess worrying about your place in the world and talking about finding that within music and using that as a place to escape. But it's not overtly political at all.
I mean, with the album title, Everything Else Has Gone Wrong, does sound like it's kind of commentary on the like contemporary politics, and it's not, but at the same time, you can construe it that way if you want, in the sense that we're saying that, as Ed said, music can be an escape from like feelings of anxiety or dislocation, whether it's about politics or about your own personal life.
So how does a typical Bombay song materialise then these days?
With this record, me and Jack went away to Cornwall. We had a friend's house out there, a place called Port Wrinkle, where there's no one around. The pub quite literally burnt down, so there was nothing else to do.
Damn.
Otherwise there'd be no album, I don't think.
I burnt it down.
And we had I had a setup downstairs, he had a setup upstairs, and just wrote music throughout the day, and then watched a film, had dinner at night. And having no distractions meant there was just a huge amount of music being written and kind of thrown around, and I helped him if he had ideas or gave feedback. And then if there was a song that he felt was ready, he'd send it off to Jamie and Tyrone, and then they'd start sending feedback, so we'd work on that in Cornwall. And then when we got home, we started playing the songs in the room, which is kind of how it's always happened. And working it as a band.
Quickly, just going back to the fact that you did a short run of dates playing your debut album. And because it was the 10th anniversary. And how was that? Was that a good, interesting experience to...
And so, some of those songs, because we moved on pretty quick from when we did the first album. We toured it maybe for 6 months or so, and then, because we were so young, we just got bored of that and went on to something else, released another album in pretty quick succession. So some of those songs even we hadn't played for 8 or 9 years. And it was weird. It was weird going back. It's very nostalgic. Like when that album came out, some people liked it, but it wasn't
even a top 40 album at the time. But it really bubbled away under the surface, and we just kept doing more gigs. But again, I mean, it is a record that particularly like people our age and that were teenagers at the time, as we were, do have a strong kind of emotional connection with, because it was about being young, and it was about the various things that you do when you're young, which in retrospect aren't particularly interesting, but seemed like the most important thing in the world at the time, like falling in love for the first time. Obviously that is important.
It is.
But it's funny that even then, if I listen back, there's songs that are like anxious about getting older, and we were only 17. It was great to see that it kind of still had resonance. Because at the time it was kind of like pigeonholed as like a sort of landfill indie album by some elements of the music press, which I felt at the time was unfair, and listening back to it now I feel it was unfair as well.
I completely agree. I guess you see 4 middle class people from North London with guitars, and
it's even less fashionable now than it was then.
But saying that, have you been? Did you have any expectations this time around? I mean, obviously when...
Like commercially?
Yeah. The fact that I think the tour coming up is sold out pretty much.
It's almost sold out.
Yeah, I mean, we've sold 5,000 tickets in Brighton. I think there's a few.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the only arena on the tour. But I don't know, the last album went to number 1, and...
But you know how things move so quickly. 3 years can seem a lifetime, can't it, sometimes?
But also now that we've done that, I don't really care about doing it again. Because it was an amazing thing to do, but I don't feel the need to really try to do it again.
We haven't made an album that it's not as accessible as the last one, and that was an intentional thing,
we were trying to
make for that. So I guess we kind of sacrificed those kind of things that come along with.
We were trying to make pop music last time, and we were making, I think, probably much more like radio friendly music last time, which was a conscious decision and which we've consciously chosen not to do this time.